ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, May 1st, only on Netflix.
Well, the Ospreys might not have signed it. We look back at the Sharks in dismay, and we look ahead to the last game of our season. Stay tuned.
This is the Ospreys Alley.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the Ospreys Alley as always. With this week, I'm joined by Jack Reese. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good, yeah, all things considered.
I'm also joined by Grant Burney as always. How are you doing, Grant?
All good, Zach.
It's good to hear. Let's move straight on into the news. Got a fairly busy week, all things concerned. Let's start off with the positives, in that Luke Davis has re-signed a new deal, long-term contract. The young nine has looked pretty promising so far in his stint in an Osprey jersey. I'm safe to say it's pretty pleasing, don't you think, gents?
Yeah. You know, you look at some of the videos you've seen recently. I'm not talking about the announcement video. I might come on to now, but talking about line selection and they're saying you've got to have a right mix of people within the squad. You need a couple of characters. You need you need your studious guys. You need your hardworking guys. You need your complete dedicated athletes. And you look at what Luke Davis brings to the squad, okay? And he's an absolute fireball, isn't he? He's an absolute bundle of energy. He causes chaos on the pitch. And you can see when him and Harry Deves get together, okay? It's, well, probably some of the most entertaining stuff I've ever seen as well, in terms of like some of the things they say and do.
I'd almost like to see some sort of Gavin and Stacey, but just sort of Lukey Dye and Harry Deves.
Oh God, that's what they'll do next. They move on, don't they? Yeah, you're right. But you look at him as a player, okay, and he works his guts out, doesn't he? When he gets the opportunities, he knows he's third choice. He's got 2 really, really good scrum halves in front of him, okay, and the opportunity's there for him to learn and get better. So hopefully, a little bit of that energy can be focused into improving his game as well as just winding up every single other person on the pitch.
I do think my favourite Lukey Dye moment so far has certainly been at Bridgend last season, where he's just taking the mick out of Thomas Williams the entire time, which really stands out as, you know what, I want this in a 9, a little bit of chat. It's almost like Mike Phillips-esque in how he just annoys other people.
Yes. And Mike Phillips didn't do it with a smile on his face, but Lukey does. He's laughing his head off, doesn't he?
Yeah. Best way a 9 can be, a prick. In other news this week, some more good news. We'd like to congratulate Jack Morgan being selected for the Lions as one of only 2 Welshmen in the squad. I think it's a big deal to have, well, our captain be potentially starting for the Lions come this summer, don't you think, Jack?
I think he should be starting for Lions this summer. I think that if you look at like the outcry for players like Henry Pollock and so on to be made, I think someone was saying make him tour captain and whatnot, and you're sitting there thinking, has anyone been watching Jack Morgan's performances over the last 2 years on teams that are generally on the back foot, particularly with Wales? I mean, I think he's fantastic. And slowly but surely, I think people are acknowledging it, but I think that he'll get out there, and I think a lot of other nations fans are going to be very surprised by what they see when they actually watch what he's doing, because he's been brilliant for the Ospreys, and he's been brilliant for Wales for a good few years now. So really excited to see him go out there, and I think he'll come back held in higher regard by Scottish, Irish, and English fans than I think he's gone out there being, personally.
Can't fault that, Chuck. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's just, at the end of the day, if you're going players like Sia Khaleesi congratulating you on getting called up to spots, I mean, Sia was quoted after the game saying, on behalf of the team, we want to say congratulations to Jack. He's a true warrior and really deserves this spot. Which, if you're coming back from arguably South Africa's greatest ever captain and one of the leading forefront figures in the game, you probably deserve it. And he shows all about probably why he deserves to be picked on Friday night. To be honest, immense performance from the man.
The weird thing is, it's just a standard performance for Jack Morgan. You get that every time.
It looked like something had turned on in him at half time, to be fair. And he just came out a complete monster at the breakdown. And I'm sure we'll get onto it later. I think there's one other big piece of news to go through this week, and that's the PRA deadline and the fact that Osprey has quote-unquote passed, but the Ospreys have not signed the new PRA deal. They're joined in scarlets in that regard, while the Cardiff Rugby and the Dragons have signed the agreement with the WRU for next year's funding. This leaves us in a delicate spot at the moment.
Well, hopefully it's not delicate, and hoping the tactic, to quote from a couple of films. I was in the JSG meeting with the WRU last Wednesday evening, and on Wednesday before now, and it was the most amicable, progressive meeting I've had with the WRU since I've been involved with joint supporters group conversations. Now, we had management from all the clubs there. Everybody was really positive about the relationship as the best it's been, and things are going along nicely. And the details will come in the minutes once they're approved. But it was a massive shock and turnaround in terms of the tone from going about, we're all progressive, we're all heading in the right direction to get this over the line, to an ultimatum supposedly given the next day, or coming out of that day even from the meetings that we followed on from. So within, was it Wales Online put out a story on Thursday saying 48 hours to sign, Dragon signing up within 24 hours of it, which suggests there was an ultimatum given. Otherwise, why would the Dragon suddenly change tone from wanting that guarantees of equitable funding, the same as Scarlets and Ospreys are asking for? But you just never quite know where you stand with the WRU.
Well, the BBC reported it as well, didn't they? That they did have an ultimatum. So generally, that means it's got some kind of merit behind it.
Yeah.
And it's just, I said it yesterday on last night's pod as well. You don't know what's being said behind closed doors. You don't know what happens in the meetings. You don't really know what they're discussing. And I'm sure that they've got, the Ospreys and the Scarlets have their reasons for doing it beyond what we know, because we won't know everything. But just the way that you come in and say we're going to have this one Wales strategy, and it already seems to have, hit the rocks based on the way that publicly decided to communicate with the regions, which is these ultimatums coming out. Initially, it was signed by Tuesday, which was when I think I first started coming on the pod. And then a few weeks later, it was, signed by Sunday or Thursday, sorry. Or, we're going to, you're going to be in trouble. And you've got 2 years to kind of sort it out. It's just much like everything that's happened with the WRU, whether it be the Wales management and Warren Gatland or whatever, it's just being held really badly in the optics of the public. And when you're trying to build trust with the regions, and you're trying to get people on board with Welsh rugby, and then you see these kind of things coming out, it just ruins the whole thing, doesn't it? Really, from their side.
Yeah, I look at this. I look at the joint statement from Scarlets and the Ospreys. Okay, and they said, given the changes with ownership of Cardiff by the WIU, they're just seeking assurances that it doesn't disadvantage the other three clubs in terms of funding. So what they're doing, in terms of due diligence before signing anything, just seems entirely common sense. So, but why does it come to this time after time?
Well, I think it's shame on us for thinking that the WRU would never do something in the name of common sense.
I won't say anymore. I've got to wait. Okay, the minutes will be circulated amongst members of all the organisations, so people will see the details of what was said during that session. And yeah, some people are feeling that as if they're stupid, that they believed every word, and you're saying, well, okay, we'll see what comes out in the wash.
I think it's something we can certainly hope for, mainly for there's a lot of players' contracts on the lines, there's lots of futures still waiting to go forward. And the day, it's probably for the best interest of everyone involved that this situation is sorted out quickly and efficiently. And probably best is out of the public eye, to be honest.
This is not what we should be talking about Welsh rugby again, is it?
No. Eventually, these conversations get a little bit boring when it's the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the main action of the weekend then, or lack of it, almost? The Sharks game away. Unfortunately, we lost 29-10 in a game that could be described as underwhelming for both sides, almost. It wasn't the best watch, was it, Jack?
It was not. I think there was some positive aspects. I got to say, I feel like I might be a bad omen here. I joined the podcast and we've gone on to win 2 games and lose the rest of them, whereas before I joined, it was plain sailing for a bit. So I'm starting to think maybe it's me. Yeah, I mean, I thought the scrum went well. I thought the front row played really well. I thought that in the middle part of the pitch, actually, the physicality was very good. But I think that the Sharks played a really good kicking game, particularly off 9. They were, putting big bombs up and making sure they played in the right pitch, putting Keelan Giles under a lot of pressure, made sure that, Eben Etzbeth, when he was on the pitch, was right in his face. And then there's probably another 7-foot second row to stand near him and so on. And then when they got into that 22, they really did impose their physicality, I thought, and really you could see them moving the ball quickly. But even so, their tries came from mistakes. You look at if you look at the try that was scored by the centre.
Esterhuizen.
Yeah, Esterhuizen. I didn't want to get his name wrong there, so I panicked. Esterhuizen. There was a massive space in between him, to Kieran Williams and where the ruck was, and he just picked the soft shoulder. Kieran Williams did a really good job getting to him, but you're not stopping a big man from there. And then on the other side of it, you had, Kieran Hardy's brilliant piece of skill, and he happened to knock the ball on slightly, and saw Harry Deves, not Harry, Morgan Morse making that break, and then offload no one. But there should have been a support runner there, and so on. So I think it was just one of those games where things like that didn't go the way in the first half and the second half. All that physicality, all that tackling started to take its toll a bit, and you could see people getting a little bit more tired. But in general, I think there was probably a lot of positives to take. And I think the scoreline didn't really reflect the game completely. When you got all those World Cup winners in your squad, you're going to end up with bits of individual brilliance that will change your game, aren't you? So there you go.
Yeah, we left a few tries out there, didn't we? You look like you pointed at 2 of the moments, and there was a couple more. Jack going down the wing with linking with Cassende as well, and then you look at the Sharks tries in isolation. It's going, was that it? When you look at the way they scored their tries, it's quite disappointing in the end. They did throw a lot at us, and they threw some big guys at us relentlessly, and we dealt with that sort of pressure really well. Okay, the first try, Esterhuizen went over. That was just relentless pressure, and eventually we sort of broke. But you look at the other moments, and it's like didn't deal with the kick, cross kick that they did really well from, and they scored some reasonably soft tries by probably doing their homework on us a bit as well. So they peppered Keelan's kicks as well, didn't they? The kicking game was spot on.
They came in knowing how they wanted to play, and they performed how they wanted to. You could argue that they maybe didn't show up with a much attacking intent, at least around the halfway, but being pragmatic is what gets you results in this league. And they're chasing top four, or we're playing to guarantee top four in the home quarterfinal, which is looking to be against, I think it's going to be home against the Stormers, most likely at this point. Given how much of a mess the URC table is, it looks like Stormers are in prime position to take that fifth place spot. But they'll be looking to try and get up to third at the end of the day. They're only 1 point behind Glasgow. You can see what they're playing for. They're just trying to play wins and trying to make it work. And unfortunately, we didn't have quite the resources after a long, hard, tiring season to see it out.
Jack Morgan's still playing on full power, isn't he? On absolutely full pelt. I make notes in terms of when individuals start doing things. Then I'll write the comments next to Jack. I just kept on writing, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." Runs through it. It's just crazy. How many turnovers did he get?
I think he got 3, but he got them all in the space of like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching him get stuck in. You don't see that too often, but there was that bit in the second half where I'm going to say Mapimpi dived a little bit. You know, he made the most of a little bit of light contact. You know, fell backwards, and then there was a bit of pushing and shoving. You see Jack Morgan in the middle of it with two South Africans towering over him, but he was getting stuck in, and it's good to see. You know, so I enjoyed that.
There were certainly some bits I enjoyed. I think Harry Deves, once he came on, made an impact. Added like a set of fresh legs. I think just towards the end of the second half, I think Sharks had a 2-on-1, and Harry Deves just smokes a man and gets a turnover because he knocks it on, and then we run it out for 50 minutes or something. I think that's on the Keelan. It was on the Dan Edwards half break on the left wing before a third try, which unlucky result, but content. Morgan Morse also looks really accomplished, really growing into that 8 shirt now.
He's such a big man as well. Like for someone his age, he doesn't look out of place, does he? Amongst these giants, you know, it's. I'm really excited to see where he goes in the next few seasons. I think he's going to be brilliant. I really do. Right, so yeah, I think it's good to see. Hopefully, he gets on the Japan tour now and can cement the place in that Wales team.
Just as to finish up, do you guys think of any other highlights from the game over the weekend?
The winger tackling Dewi into touch. I know I shouldn't say it, but
He doesn't love a bit of hooker on hooker action.
yeah.
It's a disappointing result, but it probably ends our season annoyingly. But you can't win them all, and we've given up a good fight, and we look fucking knackered doing it. To be fair.
Yeah, when you look at the sides, I was expecting a try fest and who can score the most, but it went back to a bit of Sharks discipline, a bit of Sharks organisation, and we just couldn't break them down. It was like old style Sharks, unfortunately, not the random sides that turn up every week, where they're either shockingly bad or play basketball with the ball. Never mind. Next
season we'll go on. We'll be excited. Let's move on then. Let's have a look at some other results this weekend. Grant, if you want to have a look at some results in the community.
Okay. I think this is the end now. I think this is the end. I can never quite keep track with the way the season seems to be structured in terms of playoffs and various other unusual games. But this is what I've picked up. Admiral Premiership, Born of Mine 21, Merthyr 17. Bit of a shock result when you look at the fact that Merthyr beat Neath the week before by 104-0. So well done, Bonnie. National Championship West is the last remaining fixtures then. There were games, I think, on the Wednesday, Thursday, and then the weekend as well. So again, a lot of compressed games. So your team's names popping up twice here. Gowerton 39, Kenfigale 21. Crummock 40, Dunvan 45, high scoring game. Gleneath 25, Dunvan beaten them with 31 points. Dunvan ended up fourth in the league. Gowerton 14, Tondy 67, highest individual score there of the weekend from Tondy. Maesteg Harlequins 48, Crummock 52, 100-point game there. Don't see that very often, do you? Sorry, unless it's 104-0.
Can we just take a moment to not laugh at Neath one more time?
Right. Okay. Anyway, two more results. Llanelli Wanderers, who've been out in front all season, 32, Gysainen 19, and finally Ammanford 34, Kenfigale 24.
Scoring rugby, you said?
Yeah.
Scoring rugby.
Well, yeah, dry pitches maybe.
Yeah.
Summer rugby.
It's lovely. Anyway, let's have a move on. We're going to be over the next few weeks on the RE. Obviously, it's coming towards the end of the season. Well, literally this weekend, last game. But we're going to be still doing a couple more pods. Hopefully, going into end of season. Maybe have a couple interviews over the summer. The best place you can find out about this, because we'll be trying to ping them beforehand, is on our socials. Please feel free to follow us on X or Blue Sky. We also post a lot on Facebook and the community groups around. And it just means a bunch to everyone here at the team. If you could show support and help us continue to give you the content that we do. Hopefully next week we'll go through some individual player ratings, which Nick has been working on, which all look quite cool in the background, but we'll be revealing next week how we feel. Let's finish up this week then by having a look at the last game of the season, Lions away. Jack, how are you feeling?
It would be nice to be going to the final kind of game with more to play for, but we're not. However, I think a win in South Africa is always something that you can cherish. And I think the second win for the Ospreys out in South Africa could would be something to go for. The Lions play quite like a fast game. They like to throw the ball around a bit. I think one of the stranger, I think the fourth 4 meters made in the league in terms of offense, but they've got like the 13th best kind of try scoring record and point scoring record in the league, which is a little bit kind of a strange one. But and they also have the most for turnovers won, but they are second highest for turnovers lost, which again is a bit strange. A bit of a strange kind of thing. You'd think that those two would kind of, but so I think this might be the game where there's a lot of like running rugby, the ball's being thrown around a bit, and why not make it, a lot of fun for that last game of the season. And it would be nice to end the season positively, because it's been so good since Mark Jones came in. In the last few weeks, things haven't really gone the way that you would have liked to see as a fan. I'm sure they, as well as a team. But it would be good just to round it off in a positive manner going into next season, and to see where we go from there. So I expect an Ospreys win, and I'm looking forward to hopefully ending the season on a positive note.
Yeah, you look at last weekend. Okay, yeah, we were disappointing. Then you see the Scarlets going and winning against the Lions, and the Scarlets have pushed themselves right up to be in a really strong spot in terms of qualifying for the playoffs and Championship Cup rugby, or Champions Cup rugby next season. So, on the back of that, you've got to look at it as really positive in terms of we should be able to finish the season with a win. What we like in terms of walking wounded, probably Nick is a really good idea because he's still out in South Africa and he's seen a fair bit of the team. But you'd like to think that we can finish in style with a nice, strong squad. Yeah, you want to throw the ball about, but you don't want to chuck kids on the pitch just for the sake of in the last game, though.
think a strong performance to end the season on just helps you go into the summer with a positive mentality. Give all the players a well-deserved break, or those who don't get called up to either Jack is on the line still, or anyone who gets called up to go out to Japan. But I think it looks like everyone is tired and needs a well-earned, to be fair, couple of months off. And I'd imagine we've got quite a few young boys out travelling for the squads. Imagine we'll see a few of them off the bench for 20 minutes at the end. The instructions of throw the ball about, have some fun in the day. I don't imagine the Lions aren't playing for anything at this point. They have no chance of getting playoffs. I don't think they have much chance of really going much higher on the table either. As a result, it's a bit of a dead rubber, but both teams will want to win just to end their season off with something positive.
Yeah, again, Nick has been talking to the team, and he's been giving us little tidbits about what's going on, and it sounds like the Ospreys have really done their homework in terms of how the Lions play as well. So it's not just like, we'll go out there and throw it about. Okay, they know what's coming at them by the sounds of it. Okay, and they've got a plan of how we want to go out there and play for the last time this season.
To be fair, we do have quite a good record against the Lions, at least as of recent. I think we're 3-0 of them. Lost 3 games, which is quite nice. It's quite encouraging. I'll give the players a bit of confidence going into it, especially given that the core of the squad was part of a Miss Mangles squad that went out and beat them in the Challenge Cup there last year.
Yeah.
Which will just be encouraging for all to see. I think hopefully it'll be a good watch on a Saturday afternoon on Premier Sports, unfortunately. Let's finish up then with a few predictions, both a score prediction and something funny, gents. Grant, do you want to start us off?
Ospreys by 15. Let's go in style, is it? Do you want to come back for the stupid thing?
Yeah, let's come back for the stupid thing. Jack?
Ospreys by 7, I reckon. Ospreys by 7.
That's less confident than I'd like. I think it's going to be Ospreys by 12. And I think the one funny thing that's going to happen is I think a prop's going to run into the post, sort of like how Reece Carey did against Racing last season in the Champions Cup, or 2 seasons ago, whatever.
Oh, it's not pretty. I did that. Someone had passed the ball to them, and as they took it, okay, they run straight to the post and laid on the post for 10 minutes. Yeah. Funny. It's sort of funny.
It's quite funny.
No, I'm still waiting to see Nick on TV and having his beer knocked over by a flying rugby ball. That's what I'm expecting this weekend.
We'll see if he's in the sunny side of Emirates stand, or where the fans are, apparently. Jack, your funny thing, if it is one.
Oh, I reckon it's gonna be Nick in those yellow budgie smugglers we keep hearing about in the sun, getting escorted out. It'll come through for us now. Tell you what, it's more than achievable.
It's very achievable, Nick. If you don't do it, you're really letting us down. I think it's properly poor form if there's no real introductions. I think that is it for this week. A shorter one, not a huge amount to go through because we don't really want to talk about rugby. It's been a pleasure, gents. I hope I'll be chatting to you next week with some more interesting things, hopefully in a bit more detail. And until then, I hope everyone listening has enjoyed themselves. Please like and rate the pods. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
That was the Osprey's Diary. Please rate, review and share on socials if you can, and join us next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.